don't know. We'll see.
This is streaming live on Facebook now.
Does it say that?
Yes, that's it.
Oh, it does say that. Hey, Chandler, nailed it. All right.
I told you you could do it.
It was only because you believe in me, Mom. I am capable only because you have brought me up to believe in myself.
That's right.
Miss Beth, hello. Don't you look lovely today? Love the necklace.
My Mother's Day pearls.
Oh, pretty. Very nice. Miss Beth is also from the virtual happy hour that I do with the New York crowd. She's in Nashville. The noobs are, y'all are in Rhode Island, right?
Yes.
Rhode Island. And Alan is awake at 6 in the morning in Australia. I am so proud of Alan right now. And we have Alex G. Hello there. All right. So I think we'll go ahead and start making some cocktails, seeing as we're live on Facebook. If people haven't signed in, then they'll be able to see it later. If you do have questions, you can definitely type them in the little chat box. If not, I will kind of maybe wave to me on screen, and then I'll pause what I'm doing to answer any questions that you may have as we go along. So, first cocktail we're gonna make is called a classic champagne cocktail. That's literally the name of the drink, the champagne cocktail. So, if you have your flute or highball, this is better in a flute just because of the amount of volume that can fit in here. This is going to be built inside the glass. So you don't need a shaker. You don't need a mixing glass. You will need your sugar cubes, if you have them, your Angostura bitters, and your champagne. It's just 3 ingredients. So if you are using the loose sugar, because I know someone mentioned they didn't have sugar cubes, then definitely what you're gonna do is take a small spoon, like that size, like the type you would put in your coffee. I'm gonna go ahead and spotlight myself so I can be all big for everybody. So you would use one of those and put a small spoon of sugar directly into your glass. If you're not using loose sugar, don't do that. If you're not using loose sugar, you're gonna take your little sugar cube, and I'm holding mine over like a tiny bowl. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna dash 2 to 3 dashes of your bitters directly onto the sugar cube to try and soak it. And once you have it soaked, you'll put it directly in your glass. So it's just go 1, 2, 3. And then you'll just put it directly into your champagne coupe, like so. And bottles. First bottle of the day. And then you're going to top it off with champagne. This is a very simple cocktail from the 20s and 30s. This is a cocktail that you can make with a bunch of different bitters. If you are into bitters, especially if you're maybe a whiskey drinker like myself, then you could try this with any kind of bitters. Herbal bitters, orange bitters, champagne, cranberry bitters. I have plum bitters. You just moisten your sugar cube, put it in the glass, pour champagne on top. Now, when you make it with the sugar cube won't really dissolve all the way. It'll slowly dissolve as you drink the cocktail, and it'll actually help keep the champagne more bubbly instead of going flat faster. All right. Hopefully this doesn't go everywhere. I haven't opened a bottle of champagne in 2 months now. Need my bar back. There we go. All right, so we're just gonna pour it directly over the sugar. And you can kind of let the bubbles die down and then top it off. So this is only very lightly sweet. If you are using the loose sugar, it's gonna feel sweeter. But you also will have a graininess because that sugar's loose as you're drinking it. So it is doable with loose sugar. This is also recommended to do with like a Demerara type of sugar cube, which are going to be the brown ones, not the pale white ones that I had. But you can do it any way you want. The whole concept of this class is thanks to Jack. Jack likes his champagne and wanted to be able to do more than one thing with it at a time if he opens up a bottle. But yeah, so as y'all can see, the little bubbles. All right, let me come closer to the screen. My glass is all frosty. But yeah, so all the little bubbles kind of sit around that sugar cube and they're just gonna help it keep bubbling. So cheers. Happy Mother's Day. This is our first cocktail.
This is good.
So you may
Very
think
good.
on first sip, it just tastes like champagne. It should taste lightly of bitters, but it'll kind of evolve as it sits. Are there any questions so far? Okay, all right.
I think
very
even I
easy
could
first
make
cocktail.
that.
Say it one more time.
I think even I could make that.
You can make all of these drinks.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you a secret. I've actually mentioned this to some of the people in the New York happy hour. When I was little, my mom had all these books of Amelia Bedelia for me to read. And that is a concept that I guess is an American thing. I had to explain to Alan who Amelia Bedelia was one day. But if you haven't read Amelia Bedelia, she is a silly housekeeper who does not understand the simplest of directions. Best example I have is in one book, she's told to separate 2 eggs, and she puts one in the living room and one in the washroom. And so every time I come up with recipe instructions, I try to ask myself, can Amelia Bedelia make this cocktail? So all of these are Amelia Bedelia proof, which means, Miss Beth, you are more than capable of making these cocktails. Okay, so the next one we're gonna make is a shaken cocktail. This is the one that I'm calling Snail Mail. It's a riff or a modern take on something called Air Mail, which is also an old champagne cocktail, like an older Prohibition style champagne cocktail. I'm going to be using a highball, just so y'all can have that ready.
Oh, we got them here, right here.
And the ingredients you'll be needing for this will be your white rum, if you have it. Traditional Air Mail cocktail is made with golden rum. I like to support anybody who likes to drink anything. So if you have dark rum, feel free to use that. If you don't like rum, you can sub out anything else like vodka. Gin would give it a much different flavor profile, but it would still be tasty. So you're gonna need your white rum, your lime juice. Bottled or fresh is fine because we are in quarantine, but fresh is always better. You're going to need the hibiscus honey that I sent y'all to make. And if you've been in some of my other classes, we've made a couple different syrups, actually a couple different honey syrups, if I'm not mistaken. The difference between this one and the other ones is the ratio. So in the other ones, it's usually been equal parts honey and water, just like if you were going to make a simple syrup. But honey being thicker, that would be what we call a rich honey syrup. So it's gonna have a thicker viscosity, a richer mouthfeel. This one that I had y'all make with the hibiscus infusion was a 1/4 cup of honey to 1/2 cup of water. So it's not as viscous because I think it benefits this cocktail a little bit more. So you're gonna need that, and then you're gonna need your champagne. So we're gonna have our shaker. And in our shaker, we're going to do 1 ounce of white rum. We're gonna do a 1/2 ounce of your lime juice. And Mom, I know you have coconut rum. This is a good one for the coconut rum as well.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
You're probably gonna have to go over the measurements again because I didn't have mine. So you said 1 ounce of,
1 ounce of the coconut rum.
okay,
So if you don't have jiggers, then it would be 2 tablespoons. 1 jigger is 30 milliliters, and so 1 ounce is 30 milliliters. So it would be 2 tablespoons because 1 tablespoon is 15.
got it.
So it'd be 1 ounce of white rum or 2 tablespoons, 1/2 ounce of lime juice or 1 tablespoon, and then a 1/2 ounce of the hibiscus honey or 1 tablespoon of the hibiscus honey. And add that in there.
Okay, I'm squeezing lime, so give me a minute.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm using those goat milk and mussels.
So once you have those ingredients in your shaker, we're going to add ice about 2/3 of the way of our shaker. And then you're gonna go ahead and fill up your highball with ice or your champagne flute or whatever glass you're using. Okay?
Got it. Thank you.
All right, so if you have ice in your shaker, ice in your glass, we're gonna shake this for about 10 seconds and then strain it directly over the ice in our glass. Okay? There you go.
You didn't tell me this was a dance class.
Yeah, no, dance class after. So if you have a nifty little strainer like I do, you can use that. If you have a martini shaker like Jack has that has a strainer on the top, or you can also just tin strain it by cocking one to the side. And I'm gonna use this so we can see how pretty it is. You should have a really nice red rosy color. All right. And then we're gonna slowly top off the rest of our glass with champagne. So a traditional airmail cocktail is gonna be gold rum instead of the white rum. Yes, Jack.
Your hibiscus came out really red. Were you able to get fresh flowers?
Yeah, so I was really fortunate. Like I can get them at an ethnic store, but also sometimes in the grocery store, if there's a Mexican aisle, they'll be near like the spices. So sometimes you don't necessarily not have them; they're just in a weird place.
Got it.
So yeah, the color is going to be much more vibrant if you were able to find the actual flowers versus a hibiscus tea.
See the color
Okay.
difference?
Gotcha. Is that the blueberry hibiscus tea that you found?
No, I actually was able there. I went to Down to Earth.
Okay.
They had pure hibiscus tea.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So I'm sure the
sometimes
flavor is going to be awesome. The color's just a little different.
Yeah, no, the color is gorgeous. Honestly, I do use a lot of hibiscus in a lot of the things I do. I like to make infusions because it's got a really nice flavor. It's got a tartness that's kind of reminiscent of like cranberries without that astringency. But this particular honey syrup, when done correctly, doesn't really bring out the acidic flavor of the hibiscus. It brings out the floral because the honey kind of mellows out that acidity. So instead of getting like a tart flavor, you're just getting a really nice floral addition to the cocktail, plus that beautiful color. So it's a really nice rosy pink. Yeah, so this is my take on an airmail, and I call it snail mail because I love snail mail. I think not enough people do it nowadays. By the way, Miss Beth, thank you for my little package in the mail. Miss Beth made me a very awesome face mask. It has studs and fringe. All right, Mom. That looks perfect. And camera off. Mom is camera shy, just so you know.
I'm in my pajamas. I've been working on the farm all day.
Okay. So also champagne cocktails are one of those things where if you prefer sweeter cocktails, I'm using a brut champagne, which is going to be drier, less sweet. If you prefer sweeter cocktails, you could totally make all of these with Prosecco. I won't tell anybody if you don't tell anybody. If you want to make them with a sparkling rosé, also completely fine. Your house, your rules. I'm just kind of giving you ideas to work with. So that's our snail mail cocktail. Do we have any questions about this one? Doing all right? All right, cool. So we're gonna move on to a fancy beer champagne cocktail. I wanted to include this cocktail because if I was a mom, I'm not a huge fan of just champagne or like just fruity champagne cocktails. So I liked the idea of this beer champagne combo. So I also polled a lot of my colleagues recently because there are two different ways to serve this cocktail. You can either pour the champagne first or pour the Guinness first. So the school of thought behind that is all of my colleagues, we kind of came to the consensus that we would pour the champagne first because it's going to be layered. So you'll have like a very nice, like really pale amber color, and then you'll have the dark of the Guinness. If you pour the Guinness first, Guinness is hard to pour without it foaming, right? Because it's known to have a really nice creamy head on that beer. So because that tends to occur, if you try to layer the champagne over that, it's going to be hard for that separation to really occur because it's going to try and pick up that foam and mix it into the champagne. So it is doable. It's just easier to pour the champagne first and then layer the Guinness over it. Now for this to work, your champagne and your Guinness need to be as cold as possible, okay? And if I fail at making this in a proper layer, please feel free to roast me about it later, okay? So I have this cute little mini pint glass. I wanna say this is like an 8-ounce glass, but traditionally the ratio for this cocktail is about 3.5 ounces to 3.5 ounces. You can do it in a champagne flute. You can do it in a rocks glass, but it's definitely going to be nicer if you do it in something a little bit taller and thinner. So champagne flute, highball. You can also do it in a pint glass. That works too. It's just going to be a very large cocktail. So I have Guinness. I also like putting the Guinness on top versus the bottom because I like Guinness more than I do champagne. So the flavor profile that you'll get when you drink it will be first the beer and then it mellowing out as the champagne mixes in, as opposed to the champagne being really nice and delicate and then being hit by the Guinness. So we're going to pour champagne into whatever glassware you're going to use about 1/3 of the way. You're going to tilt your glass and pour very, very slowly, as slow as possible. Like snail pace. I'm already going too fast. Do not do what I do what I say. And you want to make sure if you are using like a brut champagne like I am, do not use an extra dry because it'll enhance the bitter notes of Guinness as opposed to complementing them. So you definitely want to use just a regular dry brut. Okay, so I have my champagne about halfway up my glass.
What did you
So
say?
there are 2 ways to layer this cocktail. One uses a regular home soup spoon. The other uses your technique and your hands and your eyes. So if you have your Guinness, whether it's in a can or in a bottle, you're going to go ahead and open that. If you want to try it without the spoon, then you would tilt the glass just slightly, not as far as you did for the champagne, and then just pour this very, very slowly, trying to touch the edge of the glass. But if you do want to try it with the spoon, which tends to be a little bit easier, you're going to put it in your glass at about a 45-degree angle, like so, and just pour the Guinness very, very slowly over the back of the spoon.
Why?
This will help it layer, and it'll help it not foam. And you don't really need to move the spoon as the layer goes up. You can just kind of leave it where it is. And that'll be your black velvet. Mine mixed quite a bit. So if yours mixed, don't worry about it. It'll still taste good. So if you want to do the variation on this, a lot of people like it with a splash of creme de cassis. I didn't have any at home, so I'm going to add just a splash of the raspberry liqueur that we've been using in some of our other classes. And you can do the exact same thing, put your little spoon in there, and we're just going to use maybe a teaspoon's worth of liqueur. That'll probably sink to the bottom due to density. So if you make this cocktail with a porter instead of a stout like we're using, then it's just known as a velvet, not a black velvet. You can also make this with other beers. but they would no longer be velvets. They would just be champagne and beer. So mine didn't work. Did anybody else's layer well? No, fantastic. We are all failing together. I love this. What I'm gonna do though, I'm gonna do it the other way. We'll see if I can do the layer properly the other way. I'm really, really bad with layering with spoons. Always have. I'm just gonna see if this works. And then because I'm doing this, I'm gonna have to go get another glass. It'll be a smaller. Before they get this. And I'm gonna pour the champagne. This one looks like it's also mixing. So just pretend that the actual instructions are to mix it and then drink it anyway. And you can kind of tell, let's see. You can kind of see that it's lighter at the top. My lighting is so bad. It's layered on the counter moves. Yes, that's beautiful. I love it. So this one's kind of layered on top. It's not as clear as I would like, but I'm gonna work on it and then keep drinking them. This one, definitely not layered. So it's progress, but they're both tasty. So out of the people who made it, who's tried it? And then tell me what you think of this cocktail.
It's definitely very interesting.
Very interesting. You're a Guinness drinker, right?
I like Guinness. I'm not using Guinness. I'm using something a little bit fancier. It's still interesting.
Are you using a stout still, or are you using a porter?
Yeah, I am. It's just Bourbon County.
Okay.
Yeah, little difference. I think the flavor profile would be a little bit different, or better maybe with the Guinness. But it's different though.
I might try it with yours. Maybe that's what I'll do.
Does it work with Corona Light?
Why don't you try it and then tell us? I'm kind of interested to find out. It'll like the density of a light beer is going to be harder to layer, but as you can tell, layering didn't really work. So go for it.
I forgot I had champagne in the house.
What? I didn't forget you got bubbly.
It was upstairs in my bedroom fridge.
Ah, I see. All right. So I actually have to go get a second glass because I used this one. So everybody hold tight for about 3 seconds. Talk to each other, type to each other in the chat. I will be right back. Okay?
Hey, why did she say not to use extra dry? I didn't hear her.
Brian.
The extra dry champagne will increase or enhance the bitterness of the stout.
Because that's all that we have at the moment.
No, I have Prosecco.
Oh, well, whatever.
What beer did you use, Brian?
Same thing as ours.
Yeah.
The Bourbon County. I used the Bourbon County one. I took it out of Mike's closet. It's good. I mean, the more I drink it, it's tasty actually.
It's not bad. It's just different.
It is very different, yeah.
The thing about this cocktail is if you do mess up, you still have a little bit of Guinness. So
That is true. And I'm drinking, so.
It's mine now.
So I'm hearing a lot of like opinions about the cocktail. So this is also one of those things. I like all my cocktails to be adjustable. Not all cocktails are for all palates. Some people prefer champagne over Guinness. So if you prefer champagne to Guinness, then up your ratio of champagne to Guinness. I love Guinness, so I make my ratio of Guinness just a little bit higher than the champagne. You do 50-50 as the cocktail says, or you can play around with it. Either way, it's entirely acceptable. So, are we ready for the next one? Yes?
Yep.
Whoa,
So
whoa.
the next cocktail we're gonna make is a very classic cocktail called a Seelbach. It's bourbon.
Chandler, did you know that the Black Velvet was invented in 1861 after Prince Albert died?
Yes. So this cocktail we just made is actually kind of like got a downer of a history behind it. It is kind of like a funeral type of celebratory cocktail, I guess, or
Huh.
in memoriam type of cocktail. However, it's very interesting read on the history. It is very old. Like Jack said, it's 1800s. If you want to look up the history, I highly recommend it. I really like this just because I like beer. And I was trying to think of more things to do with champagne, but it is a very cool story.
And because he attended the funeral, this became Hindenburg, the guy who united Germany. It became his favorite drink.
Oh,
He drank it for 20 years. He came back, had one of these in London at the funeral and said, oh my God. And that's what he drank for the last 20 years of his life.
there you go. Awesome. So if it's not your favorite, at least it's somebody's favorite, right? There we go. Cheers. I will cheers. I'm actually going to drink the rest of this Guinness here in a bit. It's really good. Okay, we're going to do the Seelbach cocktail. This is also a cocktail that you build in your glass. So I'm using the flute that formerly had the slightly layered black velvet. And for this one, you're going to need your bourbon. You're going to need your orange liqueur. Like I said earlier before we went live on Facebook, if you were unable to find whatever orange liqueur you wanted, you could use Grand Marnier, you can use Cointreau, you can use triple sec. I'm just using Prince d'Orange. Like, it's got good flavor. It's not incredibly expensive. It's like my go-to orange liqueur that I add to home margaritas. You're also going to need your Angostura bitters, and then the traditional recipe calls for peychaud's or peychaud's, French. I don't have peychaud's. They're bright red and herbal. So I'm using Scarborough savory herbal bitters, but you can use the peychaud's if you were able to find those. So in our glass, we are going to mix 1 ounce of bourbon.
How much bourbon?
1 ounce.
Thank you.
Yeah. 1 ounce directly into the glass. We're going to do a 1/2 ounce of the orange liqueur that y'all are using. And this is going to be a cocktail that's not sweet. It's not like if you do prefer sweeter champagne cocktails, something you could add simple syrup to, or you could swap out the brut dry champagne or a sweeter variety like a bubbling style or a prosecco. So you're going to do 2 dashes of each bitter. So it'll be 4 total. So 2 Angostura. And then 2 of your peychaud's, or in my case, the Scarborough bitters. Just 2 drops or 2 dashes. And then we top it off with champagne. No ice, nothing special, nothing fancy. Just top it off with champagne. And then the garnish for this cocktail is an orange twist. I ran out of oranges, but I have this beautiful blood orange. So that's what I'm going to use. Just going to take a little bit of the peel. And then if you've never done it before, but you've seen your bartenders do it, they usually take the peel, skin side out, and then just kind of press it right over the cocktail so that the oils from the skin will be in there. Then you just kind of twist it. A lot of bartenders have a tendency to take those orange peels or lemon peels or grapefruit swaths and do the twist and then kind of paint the glass with it. I am of the school of thought, thanks to people I've trained with, that you shouldn't do that because sometimes those oils can be really abrasive on people's lips. And that's usually that first flavor that they're going to get and that first sensation. So considering that some people have a sensitivity to that, I choose not to actually rub the glass with my orange peels when I'm making them for other people, but when I make them for myself, I do. So that's just something to take into account. So that is a traditional Seelbach.
Good, good.
I like this. It's good stuff. See, me being a whiskey person, this is definitely my type of cocktail.
That is amazing.
Oh, you like it, Miss Annette? Yes.
Oh, yes, yes.
And I feel like you could definitely do variations of this. Modern
No,
variations.
this is perfect. And I don't even like.
It's
Oh,
definitely one of those cocktails that'll showcase different bourbons very nicely. If you know, their bourbons are not all created equal nowadays. I mean, they all are made of corn because they're called bourbon, but some have a bigger bite, some have spicy notes, some have caramel and vanilla notes. But if you are into other versions of whiskey, like Scotch or rye or even blended whiskeys, Canadian whiskeys, try them all in here. This is just like a festive way to drink whiskey. Ryan, how do you feel about it? I know you're a big whiskey guy.
Yeah, this is my favorite one so far. And I think it'd be good, yeah, like you said, with different types of whiskeys, bourbons.
Yeah, I thought of you specifically when I was putting this one on the menu.
Well, thank you. It's, yeah, definitely my favorite.
Like, I will take this over mimosa at any brunch, but that's just me. That's just me. All right. Going on to our next cocktail. I realize a lot of you are like drinking these as we go, so please do not feel forced to chug these champagne cocktails. If you want to, knock yourselves out, but you can definitely put them in the fridge temporarily.
Sharing is a really good step at this point.
Even for us, and we're professionals.
Yeah, I like it because then you can like make one, divide it around the room, and then once the class is over, everybody can just like the most. But if you're like me, or Ms. Beth, or Alan, Woody, Brian, LG, you got to get kind of wasted. Just saying, if you're making all of these cocktails. We got this entire table now of just drinks. So I'm gonna make the following cocktail. I named it Stay at Home Mom, because I know there's a lot of mothers that are currently staying at home because of quarantine. So tribute to them on Mother's Day. Also, if you shouldn't be going anywhere, stay at home, mom. Not my mom, because she's in the medical field. She has to go to work. But I'm gonna put this one in a fancy little coupe. You can still do this in a champagne flute or a highball. But it is served up without ice. So this is a highball that's gonna be a lot of volume. Okay. So this is also a shaken cocktail. So mason jars or shakers ready. And the ingredients you will be needing for this one are going to be the orange liqueur, again, the red grapefruit juice, the hibiscus honey, and the champagne. I see people scrambling for ingredients. I'll give y'all like a couple minutes to just go get those.
Will you repeat that?
Did you see your friend checked in from Australia?
Yeah, I see Alan.
Okay. It just popped up on my screen. Somebody 6:30 in the morning.
Oh yeah, that's Alan. Alan is a bartender in Australia. Woody is from North Carolina. No, South Carolina. South Carolina. Yeah, I always get the Carolinas confused. Bartender out there. LG is baker, now bartender. Stuck in Jersey, but not claiming Jersey whatsoever. No Jersey. But yes, okay, so if you have your shakers ready. Miss Beth, did I miss a question?
Yeah, I said, could you repeat that? I missed some of it.
The ingredients?
Yeah.
So your tequila, orange liqueur, your grapefruit juice, and your honey syrup. If you are scrambling to make this and didn't prepare, I would recommend, you can use any liquor you have. I'm totally about that. If you don't have grapefruit juice, Jack forgot to get some, so he's just gonna be using orange juice. And then if you don't have a honey simple syrup, because you didn't happen to make one, just use regular simple syrup, or maple syrup if you have it will work. Don't use straight honey because it'll be a little bit too thick. So if you do have honey and want to use that, just water it down a little bit. That's how we make cocktails on the fly, and we make it all work. I'm here to help you feel festive, bubbly, and intoxicated on Mother's Day. All right, so we are gonna do a 1/2 ounce of tequila. I'm using a reposado, I think. Yeah, I'm using a reposado. You could definitely use silver or an añejo. I think this cocktail does much better with an aged tequila, but all tequilas are valid. So 1/2 ounce, okay, into our shaker. And we're gonna use 1/4 ounce of our orange liqueur. So if you only have tablespoons and teaspoons, that is a teaspoon and a half. Okay. And then we're gonna use 3/4 ounces of our grapefruit juice. Put that in there. And then 1/4 ounce of our hibiscus honey again. Okay, so making sure everybody's on the same page, your shaker should have tequila, orange liqueur, hibiscus honey, grapefruit juice. Yes.
How much hibiscus honey?
1/4 ounce.
Quarter. Okay.
We're good.
Okay, awesome. So once you have all of those ingredients in your shaker, you're going to fill it up again about halfway or 3/4 of the way. We're going to shake it really, really well for about 15 seconds. Okay. This is where you burn the cardio that you're gonna burn all the calories from the drink you're about to drink. You're just gonna burn them ahead of time. Okay, so we're gonna shake it, strain it really, really well into your cocktail glass. No ice. There we go. What is some screen? All right. Now, some other bartenders would probably double strain this cocktail, which means you would use one of these and a fine mesh one. It's hot in Texas, so when I make cocktails like this, I don't double strain them so that some of the little ice chips get into my glass.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna strain that really nicely into our cocktail glass and top it off with our champagne. And then the garnish for this that I'm gonna use is 1/2 of an orange slice. And then when I made the hibiscus honey, I took some of the flowers that were wet with that liquid and then put them on a skewer. And then they dried on the skewer so it'll look nice and pretty. I'll bring it over closer once I put it on the glass. But yeah. So I'm gonna just place that right on top, like so. Finish topping it off with the champagne. And then this is the stay-at-home cocktail. Everybody can see it. Very, very pretty. And that's that cocktail. So tell me what y'all think if you made it. Oh, that's good. I like this a lot. So what do we think, guys? So far, so good.
Do repeat. This is a do repeat.
I won't
And
go.
yet I can see your face visibly sigh with delight. I love that. I like it. I love that that cocktail does that for me. So happy. So the last cocktail on our list today is a cocktail that people have heard of, the French 75. And in our New York happy hour, we have been very fortunate to have an amazingly talented woman by the name of Kelly Rivers, who is like the goddess of all things gin. She knows all of the information. She's been working with gin for years and years and years. And her personal collection at home, if I'm not mistaken, is upwards of 1,600 bottles at the moment. Yeah, no. Yeah, choke on your champagne, Miss Beth. That's a very high number. But she is so generous with her knowledge and just such a pleasure to listen to. She's a badass. But the French 75 is a cocktail that has a lot of very interesting history. There is a time where people made it with cognac, and then there was a time that people made it with gin. Gin is the more known version nowadays. There is also a time when it was served over ice, with the way we're going to be doing it today for multiple reasons. Miss Kelly shared with us the entire history of the French 75, how it's actually named after ammunition used in a war. It used to be served in a tall glass that was similar to the bullet or the shell of the ammo, because we're talking like gigantic ammo, not like guns. And the ice that you put in it enables it to stay fizzier longer because it helps keep that champagne chilled. And my favorite thing that she shared with me or with us in that class is that you can get something that people call pebble ice. I like to call it crunch ice. Other people know it as Sonic ice.
Ice?
Yes. You can go to Sonic, people, and just buy their ice. I spent $2 this week, best $2 I've ever spent, buying 40-ounce cups of this ice. And it's sitting in my freezer. So I'm actually making it with pebble ice because it makes me incredibly happy. And I'm going to be serving it in really, really pretty fancy glass. This is one of my favorite vintage glasses. It's got this beautiful cut pattern on it. So this is not necessarily the right kind of glass for it. It just makes me happy, and I support things that make people happy. So that's what we're
I'm
doing.
just gonna say, that is a beautiful glass.
Isn't it? Thank you. I got it for 79 cents at a Goodwill.
Yay!
But it's very legit old glass. So none of my glassware matches. But what we're gonna do, you're gonna need a shaker for this cocktail. And actually, let's see. You're gonna need a shaker, and then there's a lot of different ways that different bars will make a French 75. And I in no way want to tell you that this opens the door for you to go tell bartenders that they're doing it wrong. But I do want to open the door for you to go to bars and ask for what you want if you prefer the cocktail done this way. Because a lot of cocktail bars, a lot of bartenders will sometimes just use shortcuts or ingredients they have on hand because of where they work, such as places that will use like a simple syrup for their old fashions rather than muddling the actual sugar cubes, which is more traditional. So this is actually traditionally made with powdered sugar. So if you have powdered sugar, we're going to use that today. If you don't, you can use a simple syrup like most people do. But you're going to need your lemon juice, powdered sugar, gin. If you don't have gin, make a French 75 with whatever you have. Make a whiskey French 75 right now. I don't do whatever you want. It's just going to be lemony and fizzy and tasty. So powdered sugar, lemon, gin, ice, champagne. That's all you're gonna need. I'm gonna let people acquire their little ingredients. And then I'm gonna show off my pebble ice. I'm super excited. Look at that beautiful ice, guys. It's so amazing. I'm so excited about this ice. So excited. Oh, love this ice.
Did you hold up a snow cone truck? Did you hold up a snow cone truck, or how'd you get your beautiful ice?
You can buy it at Rocky. That is my new tip that I learned. Yeah, so I spent $2. Some Sonics will actually sell you the bags.
Oh, ours does. Ours does.
Okay, so obviously my mom's town, which is still in Texas, is way cooler than my town. They only sell me cups, but a 40-ounce cup was 39 cents. So still not a bad deal. So if you have, I'm going to be using Ford gin for this particular French 75. I really wanted to use Sipsmith. If you're unfamiliar with Sipsmith gin, it is the first gin that I ever actually had as an adult with like knowledge of the industry. I had like only Tanqueray. And then the first gin I actually had that somebody with knowledge served me was Sipsmith. And then Miss Kelly Rivers is a Sipsmith ambassador. And I also attend the San Antonio Cocktail Conference every year. And one of my favorite events that they do is they have this dueling French 75 stand where they have a representative from Sipsmith and a representative from Cavassier, which is a cognac. And then they have they have juice bar. And you just get to stand there for hours and combine different French 75s, you know, like cognac with these juices or gin with these juices, and then just vote on which one you like. It's phenomenal. But last year when I was there, I managed to be really friendly with the bartender, and I got this absolutely gorgeous cocktail spoon with a little Sipsmith on there. So this is my only Sipsmith swag. All the other bartenders from my happy hour would be jealous. I see you, LG. I know you want my spoon. The spoon is amazing. So in honor of Miss Kelly, even though I couldn't find Sipsmith, I'm going to use my Sipsmith spoon to make this. She knows I'm using Ford gin today. But gin is still good, so we're going to use gin. So in your cocktail shaker, the key to making this is you're going to use, according to Miss Kelly, this is Miss Kelly's personal recipe that she shared with me for this class. You're going to use 3 bar spoons worth of powdered sugar. I'm going to assume that they are not heaping because that would be a ton of sugar. So I'm going to just kind of use like 3 of those. I don't know if y'all can see that, but it's not like super heaping. I'm going to put 3 of those directly into my shaker. And we're on an adventure together. I've never actually made a French 75 like this, but after Miss Kelly talked about it and then told me about the pebble ice, I had to. And it's a perfect fit for the champagne class. So 3 bar spoons of your powdered sugar into your shaker. I have my fresh squeezed lemon juice. This is definitely one of those cocktails where the freshness of the juice really shines through. But if you have bottled, that's totally okay. We're going to use a 3/4 ounce of our fresh lemon juice. We're going to pour that directly over the sugar. And then you're going to just kind of swirl it a little bit. Get it all settled. Then we're going to use 1.5 ounces of gin directly into our shaker. Okay. And then instead of adding a ton of ice to our shaker, Miss Kelly, and I quote, says, you add 2 walnut-sized ice cubes. Luckily for me, my fridge is very cheap, so I've just got like regular fridge ice. I'm using 2, exactly 2 of these cubes. That's it. Into my shaker. Okay. And then before we shake the cocktail, you're going to fill your glass with ice. Obviously, you don't have my ice, so it sucks to be you guys, but use whatever ice you have. That's cool too. Oh, yeah, pebble ice. Woo. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting for me, guys. I'm very easily pleased, if you can't tell. Got my beautiful, beautiful pebble ice in my gorgeous glass. And I'm gonna have to already open the second bottle of champagne. Okay, so ice in the glass, 2 ice cubes in our shaker. If you pay attention to the sound of your ice while you're shaking, you'll be able to hear it dilute. Okay, but you are gonna try and shake it for at least 10 to 15 seconds. If you stop hearing ice, then you can stop shaking, okay? A much quieter shake.
Oh, wow.
All right, your shakers should be nice and cold. You're gonna strain this directly over your ice. And the reason we use powdered sugar, apparently, because we're about to find out together, is because of the mouthfeel, the texture that this is gonna give our cocktail. And then you're just gonna top it off with champagne. So when you top it off with champagne, do so very slowly. And then if you have a cocktail spoon, you can watch me. What you're gonna try and do is pull up. So what that means is you're going to essentially try to mix the cocktail without agitating it too much. Gosh, this is really hard champagne. I swear I'm a professional, guys. I do this a lot.
Huh.
Nobody watch. It's just because y'all are watching me. I get nervous. Okay, so cocktail spoon, if you have it in your glass, you're gonna pour the champagne in very nice and slow, and you're just gonna kind of swirl and pull up very lightly. Swirl and pull up, and that'll just lightly mix your cocktail. And then, per Miss Kelly's instructions, we're going to use a grapefruit horseneck, I believe how she said it. So it's a very long swath of grapefruit peel. I'm peeling this to order, so all those oils are really nice. This is probably way too big, but I'm in Texas and we do everything bigger here. So it's at least as wide as my forehead. So we're gonna put those oils, and then we're gonna put that in the glass. And I'm calling that the French 2020 because it's hindsight is 2020, and we're going back to one of the original old methods to make this, and we're in the year 2020. So cheers, you guys, to the French 75.
Cheers.
That's really nice. Miss Kelly, if you ever watch this, thank you. This was an amazing French 75 experience. Fully support the ice.